Everest by Keystone. I got a big bruise cut right there. We're gonna go up and take a look at her. We got some fine stairs over here. We're gonna jaunt up. Here's all our scaffold. Let's get this all taped off because the awning rail that they put on there, whoever did not put the right size in, and it keeps popping out. And then all these blankets that you see, we usually throw them on the roof after we get our roof down. This isn't totally together. We still got walk boards and stuff to put in and the front safety rail. But I figured I'd do a quick video so the guys get over here and get to work. So you can see all this all cracked right here. And this is pretty common. They just want you to keep putting more on. I mean, you got to think about that. I joke about it. I'm not trying to insult anybody because you really don't know what to do. You rely on the manufacturer to tell you what to do and how to maintain your coach. And basically, they do it on purpose. They deliberately exploit your ignorance to roof systems. And they just keep saying, put more caulking on there, put more caulking on there. That's not the right way to do a roof. You don't get up here every 3 or 4 months and keep putting it on there. The reason they do it because that product is their cash cow. They make a boatload of money off of this. I mean, it's probably $1 billion industry just from people buying caulking every few months on the RVs. And it doesn't work, as you can see. You can see right there how it's all coming apart. And if you look at these shoulders, don't know if I'm going to have to redo these shoulders or not. A lot of times they're real flimsy, but the reason why you can see it all down in here, right here, is because they staple them down, but they don't glue them down. And the problem is that hopefully when we pull this apart, if it's not all wrinkled up and doesn't look bad, we'll put them right back on. But if not, I'll have to fabricate some new ones. I just want it to seat well and look well up underneath the roof. I don't want to see all these little crinkles and stuff under there that we can't get straightened out. I mean, it'd take too long to sit there and try to straighten them out. Sometimes when it gets to a certain position, it's just more aggravation than it's worth. You spend a lot of time doing it. So again, you can see right here, they put on several coats. You see that's already fractured there. They put another one here. It looks like 3 different colors there to me. Maybe it's just one side dirty and the other. But so this is a rail that somebody had put on. It's the wrong size, so this doesn't operate properly. So we'll get that fixed for them. And like I said, we're just trying to show you all what's going on here, you know. And these, let's see, where are they? There's one up here too. I'll show you what these are. Some salespeople try to convince you that that is a vent. It's not a vent. It's an access hole. In the case that you want to maybe run some wires, you could typically unscrew those and then try to reach down and, you know, run your wires from here to there or whatever you want to do. That's what they're for. They don't vent. They won't vent. Even if they just won't vent. In order for it to vent properly, it has to have a lower end for a draft. Just like in your house where you have your gutter on your house, you have the soffit underneath. There's usually ventilation up there, and then the ventilation will go up into the attic, and then you'll have that, maybe one of those big roof vents. It could be a turbine, or it could even be a ridge vent. But the point is, it's going to draft up there. If you don't have the lower end, that is the useless. It doesn't do anything. So the other thing that I'm looking at, I don't know if you can see that from here. Maybe I get down this way. And that's a big advantage of our curbs, is that you can see all the filth, slime, debris, and everything. It gets all up inside there, and it's going to damage and corrode the foam gaskets that's up in there. And once that happens, then the water will get in. So now the rain is just going to want to go in there. Boom, boom. That's it. That's the path it's taking, and it'll just leak into the coach. So you can see it does look a little damp here. It started to rain. We brought it in here. So obviously we're going to tear it all up. Any wet insulation and all that stuff we take right up and get rid of it. So if you have any of these, if you look at the roof here, see how it's all cracked? To me, that looks like when you have a hard-boiled egg and you're kind of cracking it and you're going to peel it. I call it eggshelling. When they get really big on commercial roofs, tar and gravel roofs, and even some built-up roofs, some bituminous roofing type material, they'll get really big, and we call that gatoring because it looked like the back of an alligator. So, but this, basically this eggshelling, this is already reached failure. It's already done. This roof has already failed. So let me go over and show you this antenna. There's a couple of things over there, and figure I'll show you if you have one of these. These videos are typically put together so the customer can see all the work we do, all the things we notice, all the stuff we need to fix, and stuff like that. They're not typically DIY videos, and they're not typically intended for, you know, tutorials at all. If you get a tip out of it, that's awesome. There's another one of those vents I was just telling you about. Then we like to take a look at the awning toppers. These ones don't look too bad. I don't see anything in here. We got a screw in there. We don't have to mess with these anyways. They're way down there. But sometimes getting those screws out can be a task. We got a cracked skylight lens right here. That's due to all these screws. We don't screw ours down. We glue them down. Here's another plumbing vent. It's already breached right there. So you got some good leaks coming in this thing. That's for sure. And then you get the same, so you can see how the shoulder is kind of popped up with the roofing. It's not going to roll off properly. It will have to be in a position where water, and it looks like this position where it would have to roll almost all the way down before it starts coasting out. But what I was trying to show you on this antenna, we're going to replace this antenna. If you're on our board, and I stress board, because a lot of the stuff we run into, it just takes us longer. And unfortunately, we can't give a start date and we can't give us a completion date. We just can't. We'd be shooting ourselves in the foot. So sometimes we get stretched out 7 months, 8 months. You know, it's not uncommon. Sometimes even closer to a year. So if you want to bring your coach in, just keep that in mind. We just can't guarantee it. Like I said, we're a specialty shop. Nobody does what we do in the country. If somebody does say they do these roof systems, I haven't trained anybody to do these roof systems at all. So I'd be a little leery about that. I'm a commercial contractor by trade, and I designed the roof system for these. And you can see the same issue here on this, how it just kind of noses down. You can see all these gullies. So this is what I was going to show you on the antenna. If you have one of these crank ups, have that on there, we'll say, water will just trickle down here and it'll get into that boot right there, right in the edge, right in there. And then when it does, it'll get down in here in that hole right there. And now it's inside the coach. You'll have leaks from there. It'll start rotting all this out. Also get some, on this one, we've got some breaching right there. You can see all that over there. Stuff doesn't work. I'm actually pushing that off my finger. That's terrible. But anyhow, you would want to seal this. I'd seal up inside the boot, and I'd even try to make sure there's enough so when you pull it down, it kind of burps, or you have some booger around there too, you know. Silicone won't work. Everybody uses silicone and go, hey, silicone's great, silicone this. Silicone, don't use silicone. Silicone won't stick to rubber anyways. So I'd recommend trying to get probably some quad, or Rapid will probably work pretty well. They have Rapid is over at Home Depot. They have it in the concrete section. That's a pretty good product. I like it. But don't use silicone. It isn't going to stick. So like I said, then we'll obviously replace the lens, new plumbing. So that's our overview on this. Like I said, this here, it's just stapled down. You can actually, there's a staple right there. See, they just put tape on it. That's all they do. There's your staple. So I'm hoping I can salvage this. If I can just get these staples out nice and easy, there's another one there probably, because there isn't a lot of staples in there. So I probably can. That would be great. It would just save me some money. You know, just save me some time from having to try to make them. So we got to get this thing all wrapped up and get it all protected. We'll get all the awnings here. We'll get those all wrapped up. We'll get these ones down here, you know, wrapped up. We protect the coach. Because when we take the vents out, when we take the skylight out, when we take these things out, we put blockers back up in the ceiling. So this way we don't get debris going back down inside. We have clean pads like these that we put in the inside of the coach. We'll put it all over wherever we're going to work, walk, or if anything's going to get any sort of dirt on it, then we cover it all up. So that's just as important as putting on a good roof. But we take time to do it right. And again, all these little steps, everything takes time. Now, we're going to pull this up. Hopefully there isn't any structural damage under here. I don't know. but we're gonna find out when we peel this up. And then, all right, well, let us get to work and quit running that mouth. I've really been wanting to see what's causing this hump right here. You can see it just right up like that. So, look at there. All crippled over. Both of them are, and that one is crushed. See how it's crushed in? Hopefully my camera's getting this. But I'm holding another sheet of plywood while I'm doing it. That's because I'm so strong. Look at there it is. A crumple. So we got to fix it. Okay, so we get these ones all, that one's all crippled over, like I showed you. And look at this, every time you put the foot on there, you see it bubbling out. I don't know what we're gonna do here. You can see that whole thing moving. And this guy don't weigh nothing. We gotta keep his sand full of pockets so the wind don't blow him away.
I really don't understand.
Pockets full of sand, that's how you say it. Nope, sand full of pockets. That don't make sense. Alright, we gotta figure something. And I'm wondering if we just put a roof back on this thing, we're gonna have the same problem with these all down the road. So that's what I'm looking at. Let's check out some of these wires. These are just coaxes. They shouldn't have any be compromised in there. They shouldn't be, because this is all rolled over. That's the way, you know, you would run them on a commercial end. But this is just 25 gauge steel. That's all it is. And all they did was put these crummy little gussets on here. That's cheesy. Wow. That is cheesy. I don't know what that is. Something looked like it was burrowing in there. Where'd it go? There's some sort of little nest in there. Well, now we gotta take all this insulation out because I'm kind of suspicious if there's mouse shit or something in there. Turds. Mouse turds, yeah. Yeah, this is a family-friendly channel. Mouse turds. Now I gotta put that thing on there. This is adult content. Dadgummit. Son of a biscuit eater. But look at the, I don't know if you can see it from here, but the whole ceiling has fallen in right there. Because this is collapsed. And that little piece right there is right there. Man, what a mess. This is a hot mess. So, I mean, obviously we can fix it. We're just trying to figure out the best avenue to go. Then we got to check all of these too. And I really wasn't up for reframing a roof, but if it were mine, I would. I definitely would. I may have to figure out ways to reinforce these, possibly. That's another option. So, I don't know yet. So I'm gonna have to stew it over. Speaking of stew, I'm kind of hungry. All right, got some more mouse poopies. Or rat, whatever. There's another dropping right there. They've been all up inside this coach. Look at them all right there. Let's see this one right here. It's crippling over this way. So this one here, kind of squirrely. Oh, that one bent way over. So is this one. They're all bad. We're probably going to have to reframe this roof. And the other thing that I noticed over here, well, there's just more mouse turds actually inside the frame here, over there. So, yeah, it looks like it's going to need to be reframed. I was hoping it'd just be one or two, but this is extremely light gauge steel. This is 25 gauge steel. That's what it is. I mean, I could almost bend this with my hands. But I mean, I am an extremely strong person though, but still I shouldn't be able to do that. Might be, oh dang, I'm steroids, come on man! Freak it out! But yeah, this one's all warpified. This one I was showing you. This one already is too, right here. You can see you can't even stand on, but they didn't glue them to the ceiling either. So there's no strength. There's a little bit of glue, but not enough to add the strength and help the ceiling and help hold it straight. So we'll never be able to get a deck on this thing. It'll squirrel. Every time we go to put a screw in, that thing's going to squirrel away from us. So then we get the issue with the ceiling afterwards. We're starting to take out all these trusses. We've got to replace them. So some of the things that I was looking at that kind of concern me here. probably would have helped this thing to stay together. Look how squirrely this one is. There's one screw hole there, one screw hole here. Where's the next one? I can't even see it down there. I can't see it. I can't even see it all the way down there. Let's see. I can't see any screw holes. So the other thing is there's no glue. No glue on this. So they screwed down this piece here. And this is a, basically use this as a brake. You can see right there where the one sheet met the other, and you can see the screws right there. Okay. So, and incidentally, when you see these screws like this on metal, you can get away with it. If this was a piece of wood, by code, this has to be 1.5 inches ahead or below this one. You can't do that on a framing situation, like on a house or whatever. You're not supposed to. It'll split the wood. That's why they made that code. You want the next one up there and below it. They can't be aligned. So just FYI, caught my attention. I got nothing better to do, read a code book. So this one here, no screws. Okay. Can't see any screws, and again, no glue. This one here, no screws. This is how they build them. Get them built, get them out, get them sold. That's it. They don't care. So, like I said, we've got them all. I've got all the trusses made, so now I just have to break everything apart, and we got to start setting these trusses in. But that kind of caught my attention. Again, here's another one. This is a double. And on here, we probably won't need the doubles like they did here for the AC. We won't need them because I'm going to be using some solid stock. So I think it'll be just strong enough. Because this is going to be wood. We're going to use basically, it's not a 2x6, but it came out of a 2x6. But it's going to be the whole thing, all solid stock. So it's going to be a lot stronger for sure. And I haven't added the weight, but it's going to be white pine, so it's not going to be like crazy heavy for sure. Not compared to this. But if you, if somebody has, some people have coaches that they know exactly how much water they can take. They know how much, which from what I understand, let's get on the water thing. From what I understand, you're not supposed to travel with water in your tanks, period. Because all that sloshing, joshing, and all that extra weight bouncing down and everything is not good for that holding tank brackets. That's from what I understand, little FYI. But some people do, you know, want to know how much they can carry, whether it's, you know, with luggage or amenities or extras, tables, whatever, all their stuff. I don't know. I would just tell everybody, reweigh it after we're done, see if there's a big difference. No one's ever told me anything, but, you know, some people, like I said, have certain weight limits and blah, blah, blah. So if that's in your criteria thing, then again, weigh up the coach. In the meantime, we're still going to get all these trusses out and start rebuilding this thing, get it together. And now the other thing here too, like I think I showed this, but you can look underneath this one. That's not even glued to the ceiling. Most of these have little, maybe they'll have a spot of glue, like this right here. You can see there was just a spot of it, but they didn't glue the whole thing. There's a spot right there. And then there's none right here. There's none right here, but there is some right there. There's a little spot right there, but there's none right here. So it's sporadic. You can see even up underneath this one, there's a little spot over there. They didn't take the time to actually glue them all together. Just little pieces, enough to hold it up to say, hey, we can get it going and, you know, get a bill, get it out, get it sold attitude. So. All right, so now the rest of the trusses are out. You can see the ceiling's already falling down, and there's some D-lam in here. So we're gonna have to try to get some of this off without destroying the actual inside ceiling. So all this is just a piece of 1/8 inch. So we're gonna try and take this ply off. And this is plywood. So the way it is, you can see this grain going this way, and the other one's going the opposite direction, perpendicular. And then the next one underneath it is going the same way this one is. And that's how it usually gets its strength. So, you know, obviously that with resins and glues and yada, yada, yada. But you can see it's, if we try to glue some of these trusses to try to glue this ceiling back, it's not gonna stay. So I gotta at least get where my trusses are in here so I can get it at least glued back in. I don't wanna start tearing ceilings out. That'd be crazy. Especially since the inside isn't really all that bad. So I don't wanna poke that bear and add to the bill. So we're just gonna do it that way. It's just a thin ceiling piece anyways. It's more cosmetic than anything. So we're gonna leave it alone. We're just gonna run the trusses across. You know, there's no mold or anything, but this is some dry rot and some water damage. you know, and you can see over there in the skylight, look at that over there. See, those skylights always leak, and that's the problems you have. Even though the framing was there, it leaked down beside the framing because this having metal like it did, it couldn't hold water, obviously. So it just trickled all the way down, and then it just ruined that part of the ceiling over there. And the same over here. Here was another vent. You know, you can see where a lot of the damage was. So, well, let us get to work here, and then we shall show you more. We've got it all framed. Pushed the ceiling back up, stapled it in there. Then I wanted to make sure we wouldn't pinch any of these wires. Man, it's really stuck on there. So I glued some plates underneath here, so this way when we go around with a staple gun, I wouldn't catch all these wires. That's why I zip tied them all up here too. So give it a little bit of elevation through there. So you can see we got everything all framed back out. It was, man, what a mess those wires were. That was totally unnecessary. If you go back and look at the first clip or two, you'll see how just every which way they went. It was just a mess. So, especially when there was a big bundle. Then they had more that ran all the way up there. And then they had all this going up there. All we did was bring them over. I didn't want anything to do. There was no reason to bring them over there. We had zigzags all the way over there. And then they shot back over here anyways. Didn't make sense. There's obviously more wire than I need. So we brought it all around here and did it this way instead. And then we glued it. You can see how much glue we got and everything. It's all glued, screwed, and fastened in there. We glued all these in, glued them into this, glued them into the bottom on this side. Obviously we refastened them in there with screws. Got all our trunk lines, got all those taped back up right there. And then that just dead ends. There is an air conditioner here, but that's just what they call a lower control. So it just serves this bedroom area here, where this one down here has all the ductwork. So like I said, then what we did inside the ductwork is made little couplers. They're just pieces of aluminum that I bent up like this. I shoved them in there so this way it keeps it tight, so when we put the tape on there, it doesn't want to kind of collapse. Right here, if you remember, I showed you how the ductwork for the air conditioner right here, all that was just, a lot of that air was coming up into the ceiling, which the bad part about that is, one, you're going to lose air, cold air, into the, if you want to call it the attic area. You'll lose that. But now with a hot roof and cold air coming out, you got condensation buildup. So, you know, that's not a good mix. So you can see how much glue we used, gluing all that back together. I want to make sure it stayed up here. So we got all that. Now the next step is to, oh, that's what I wanted to show you here. Where'd they go? Where'd they go? Where'd they go? Where'd they go? There was a few wires around here that, oh, there they are, right here. These have basically what's called a ferrule, and a ferrule is a sharp piece of pipe, and we put these little bushings in there. That's actually a code. It is an electrical code, but you can see how rusty these are. You know what happens is they tend, because the coach is moving, they tend to keep doing this, and those ferrules there, those metal ferrules down inside there, they're sharp on the inside, and they chafe the wire. And then eventually somebody goes somewhere and they go, hey, I don't have any electricity, you know, you must have put a screw through something. No, I didn't put a screw through anything, it's just a wire that got popped. So some of them are in wood and some are in the conduit. So like this one in the wood, so we put them where just the conduit, you don't really need it for the other, it'll be just fine. Because this isn't that thick, doesn't have enough strength to chafe into a wire. So anyhow, that's where we're at so far, and we're going to double check everything and make sure everything is all set before we close this roof up. Like right here I can see, right there, we're going to get that duct tape back up right around this outlet on this inside over here. So, and then double check all the taping, make sure it's nice and tight, and we'll be good to go. We're going to be getting our deck, we get the insulation in, then we'll put the decking on. Look at all the glue we got in there. Stable her down, hold her up. You can see, got this thing full of insulation. We've got the decking down, all set. We even got the shoulders on. We got all that booger glue under there. You got to glue these down. If you don't glue them down, they're just gonna, that staple will come loose. So then look at here. Look at there. You know what that is? That's called a, oh, I forgot. Right inside there is the ceiling fan. And when we did all the framing, forgot to put the basically support in there to hold the fan. Yeah, that would be important. So that's why we had to cut a hole. And then I don't want to see that when we go to put the roof on, so we just kind of obviously smoothed it out with some product and got it all nice. So that's that. That's what that is, because everybody's gonna go, what the heck is that? And then this here, the hole got drilled a little big, so we put that on there. So the boot will sit right. You know, sometimes this stuff happens, and that's what we do as we go along. Want to make sure it is correct. See, that one's good. Put that one over there. That's good. So everything's about ready to go. We got strips to put on here, and then you see all the glue we use. I mean, we glue the bejesus out of these things. You know, you'll see it on every one of these joints right here. So we're going to be putting protective strips on here and on here, and we'll probably end up putting one all the way down on these. I'm going to try and salvage these shoulders for this guy, you know, and that's pretty smooth. And we probably may not even need it. Whoa, look at there, still wet. Oh man, that's not cool. Bugger. All right, let's get to it. We've got the passenger side all glued. We're gonna roll it over, and then we're gonna do the driver's side. After that, we hit it with a heavy roller, and then we start cutting out for all our vents and everything. You can see all the protective strips we got on there. We salvaged the original shoulders. We were able to do that. That saved a lot of money and a lot of time on our part, but a lot of money on his part. So we just put these little strips on here because that's where the staples were, and there were some just kind of quirkiness to the metal, and I didn't want it to show up through the membrane. So we put a protector strip over it. We did the same to the other side. And then you can see all the ones we got going across where all the joints are. So, all right, that's what we're doing. Now that we got the roof rolled over, now we're going over it with this big heavy roller. Get it all packed down there. We go over it a few times, make sure it's down tight. We are done with our Everest. Done, complete, ready to rock and roll. All right, there's our little brand on there, August 22. We got her done. We put that on there, so now when the coach comes back, we can monitor it for, you know, anything. We see something that just doesn't look right, and we get with the manufacturer. We've never had to do that, but that's one of the reasons why we put it on there. If a coach comes back, we want to make sure it's weathering the right way that it should, and so forth. If it looks like it's starting to reach premature failure, then, you know, obviously we'd be concerned with that. The other advantage is if the customer decides to sell this coach, he doesn't have to worry about someone saying, hey, you know, the coach's RV roofs, they always have trouble and leaks and yada, yada, yada. He can say, hey, we just put on here. Anybody who gets up here and takes a look at this roof would know that it's a, you know, upscaled, upgraded roof anyways. But those are the couple of reasons we put it on there. We also want to thank this customer for bringing this to our shop. We really appreciate it. Some folks drive a long way. I think this fella here, he's from Georgia anyways, but still, we appreciate him trading with us. And let me show you some of the things that we did here. He's got to get a couple of covers for these vents. We don't have those type covers. Every time we seem to buy them, they always don't seem to be the right ones. I like to see covers on here because sometimes when you get down the road and the wind is going over and rattling, then sometimes those things tend to kind of just loosen up and open up, and then you get rain in there, right? So we don't want to have that happen. And then same thing with this one over here. I'd like to get the same cover on there. We got all our plumbing. The way we do these plumbing, if the cap comes off, if it did pop off, that's all sealed underneath there. So there's no water going to get down into the roof deck. That'll just go into the holding tanks. So this roof is a 60 mil to 60 mil is the thickness. It's a structured membrane, reinforced membrane. It's a commercial roof. It's the same exact material you're going to find on a hotel, an office building, a library. This is commercial application. You're going to see the same thing with these curbs. You look at images online for commercial roofs, and you'll see that everything is elevated off of there on a curb, and that's the way we do them. So get all that, everything in there. You can see some of the protector strips we got going across, and then we had a cover for this one. I guess is probably not the same one as that, is my guess, because if we did, we put them on. And then we got the stands in the front, in the back of the AC, and that just helps give us some balance. And if you remember, that whole thing was caved in. All those trusses are all crippled out. So obviously we rebuilt everything, and we've got a piece of counterflash up there, just like the way we have it here. And what this counterflash does is the water that comes down, it will go below. Every one of these curbs are built with counterflashing on the curb, but now that piece will let the water go below this and wash out. That's what it's for. So we've got all that. Now on that right there is a solar fan, and these skylights, what will happen is the lenses themselves in the morning, especially, I've noticed it, that we have condensation on, you know, your car and your windshield and everything else, right? So you have it all over there, but you also have it on the inside. So what this does is it'll create the condensation that's on the top. It's also on the inside of that lens. So now that the sun comes up, it'll evaporate everything. It'll evaporate everything off the top, but what's up inside won't get evaporated, and it'll drool down. Okay, it'll condensate and drool down. All that mist, the condensation, the frost, whatever you want to call it, it's gonna come on down, and then it gets into the ceiling and it gets into the roof deck and so forth. So that over there is a solar fan, and what happens is that solar fan will kick on when the sun comes up, and this right here is a draft, and it'll pull the air up over. There's an inner lens, so it goes over the inner lens and it goes down. We've got a couple of troughs right in it built into the roof, so it's just pulling air. That's all it's doing. It'll stay on as long as the sun is up. Now, that being said, if this cap does pop off, that will leak into the coach. So make sure that if it happens, you can take the plumbing one and put it on there, or just tape it up. But you will need to make sure that is, you know, staying watertight, because if it pops off, it will leak, because all it is it's just an opening, a draft. So then we sealed. You can see how well we seal the skylight. We don't put screws in them anymore. We glue them all down, you know, much like you do your windshield. We don't put screws in any of those. We've had a few that just the manufacturers had defects on the way they put the holes in them. We've even bored them out, and even though we bored them out and made them bigger to give some expansion and contraction, we still have some issues with the little hair fracture cracks. So here, I can go over this side a little bit, just kind of show you that. Oh, I'll show you that as well. I forgot that patio awning. We fixed that for him too. So here's our stands and everything. This is the solar fan that I was telling you about. So when this kicks on, that is an intake basically, and there's basically a channel in there that we made up. So the air will get pulled up over. There's an inner lens. It'll get pulled out right through here. That's the way it works. Easy peasy. But like I said, you can see we don't use any screws at all. That's glued down. That's not going anywhere. It's not going anywhere. Feel bad for the guy if that tree branch hits it and cracks it. It's going to be a bugger to take off, I'll tell you. So, all right, that's it. Then we replaced our insert trim as well. We did all that. And every screw that's in this is all sealed. Just like that. They're all sealed. That's important. So this has a little groove in it. See the groove? So it sits down inside the track. This will go in the back, and the other part sits right in the front there. I like it. It keeps the water out, you know, out of the gutter, the inside of the track there. So then we got 2 strikes of caulking going down, 2 strikes caulking going down. We do 2 strikes. If you've ever operated a caulking gun, you'll hear it pop or crackle. You just bedded a air bubble in there. So now as these coaches go down the road, they twist and flex a lot, and when they do, that air bubble could breach, and if it does, you got a leak. What are the chances of having one air bubble land on top of another? Probably slim to none. So that's why we do 2 strikes on that. Plus what's behind here, so we glue this on the gutter, and then when we screw it back on, we got a we swipe that down, put a lick on it, and then that lick cures, then we put another lick on there. So there's a lot of caulking and sealing behind there. So that's about us on our Everest. Like I said, we appreciate the customer coming in. Now, let me tell you about some of the cleaning. This will wash up. You can bring it to a truck wash, have them wash it, or you can wash it yourself with a little pressure washer. As long as you're not having the actual nozzle like real close to the roof to blow a hole in it. You know, you should be able to use like a 15 or even a 25-degree angle, as they call it there, type of tip. And you should be able to just use a soft brush, a broom, you know, maybe a push broom, and wash it down with some simple green or whatever. It'll clean up. Dish soap will clean it up real well. I recommend getting these washed twice a year. And then the warranty, we want to see this come back in about 30 days. I know folks have to make some arrangements, and if they do, I'll even extend to 60 days. But really, I say 30 because if I say 60, someone will want 90. We want to see them come back to make sure. We're going to check all the caulking again. We're going to check all the welds, make sure everything is all set. Like I said, these things rack, twist, and flex a lot. I want to make sure everything is the way that it's supposed to be for what he's paid for, correct? We want to make sure. Now, the last thing is the warranty. And the way the warranty works, come back every year after the initial inspection, and we renew it for another year. So you do, there's a 20-year system, keep bringing it back. Thanks for watching.
Package.
Right.
So in our care package, we have caulking, we got primer, we have got 2 patches. Those are heat patches. We got a patch peel and stick patch. We got a checker tool. We've got a magnet. And the rest of this is just pens, keychains, brush, nozzle. Okay, so if we have a hole in the roof, it will simulate a hole. You can do hole simulations. We say we got a hole there. Here's your tree branch come through and you're like, oh man, I got a hole in my roof, it's leaking. So what you want to do, and it's raining out. Right now it's raining, you're like, crap, I gotta stop that leak. You want to get in there, and if you can't get that nozzle in there, don't worry about it. Make it a little bigger. What you try and do, you need to get up underneath the roofing, like this. This is what we need to do, get up underneath the roofing. Then you're going to take and you're going to put this up inside there, and you're going to squeeze, 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 squeeze. Hopefully this thing is plugged up. There it goes. You squeeze, squeeze. You want to try and get up underneath this part too. Squeeze up underneath there. Put some more underneath there. Well, we are getting this thing all boogered up. Then what we're going to do, you're going to push it together. See how it oozes out? That's sealed. You're done. This is a moisture cured product. So what? It's a hot mess. Looks terrible. Who cares? Keep the water out. So now, the next day, we're going to go up there, and that's going to be cured looking like that. So we're going to take a knife, and you just shave it down. Just shave it down with a knife. I'm just going to obviously wipe this off. Now you say, hey, I want something a little better than that. So what we're going to do is get some cleaner. This is a terrible rag. You got another one. You got one on you? Oh, get a rag, get a rag, get a rag, get a rag, get a rag. What are you gonna talk about, man? Nope, just leave it alone.
Oh.
Leave it alone right now. We're recording now? Are we on?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Alright, so now we cleaned it off with a knife. I just washed that off because it's still wet. Take that off. So now we got a patch. This is a peel and stick patch. We're going to take that, we're going to center it over there. Just take a pen and go around like this. I like to kind of put a dash like that so I know who's where, what, and where, and how. So now there's what I got. So in the package we got primer. We also have a brush. You're going to take that, you're going to go all inside the square. You're also going to go outside this square about 3/8 of an inch. Outside about 3/8 of an inch or so. Once you get that, there's a film on the back. You peel the film, now you know which side you are, see, because there's your marks. And you peel that film back. Get the fingers in there to get the film off of this thing. This is just a regular roof tape. That's all it is. We put them in all the care packages. Get that daggone thing off of there. Probably need some fingernails. Probably help. Come on. There it is. Okay. Oop, hey, hey, there it is. Now you got the film. You take that film. So now we're going to line it back up with this. We already got the primer under there. You just peel the film back, and as you do, you just rub it down like this. Sometimes that film will get a little stuck in there. This is just a butyl. You just kind of try to keep it as even as you can and flat as you can. Boom, you're done. There it is. So now, out here, this is where your primer is. You put the primer on there. You got primer there, and now you're going to put primer here. You want to prime all this area with your brush. Prime all that. Then you're going to come back. Once you get it all primed, then you're going to put a little bit of caulking on it, just like this. That simple. If it doesn't all sit in there, you can always take your finger and go around it if you want. We're trying to obviously stop a leak and make one of. There's going to be a little more permanent of a patch than just that plug that we did when it was raining. So now that we get that all done, the whole purpose of it is this part here. This part underneath here, that's a butyl. When the sun hits that, if you didn't have the caulking on there, it will cause it to release and curl up just like I'm doing here. And it'll start coming loose. That's why you need the primer. That's why when you prime it, you're going to prime on top of this because nothing will stick to it. Nothing, the caulking will not stick to this patch and it won't stick to the roof unless you use the primer. That's how you do a patch. Ta-da! All done.